Welcome back. This is K24 this morning. We're looking at the big stories of the day. As always, you can tweet us as well and let us know what your views are on the stories of the day. You can get us at K24 TV. You can also SMS us. Our number is 21222. We have Githongori Eunice, who's tuned in from Londiani, saying that it's very true, Okango, on that particular point, as far as that's concerned, supporting your claims as well right there. We also have Atmen 433, a government made up of con artists is very risky for the country. I bet you this case will collapse. Just like Babu's, Kenya needs a really strong judiciary for this. Probably shine some light as to why that might happen. I think it's also been mentioned right here, because judgments are only made on the facts presented, the evidence presented, and nothing else. Keep those tweets coming in at K24 TV. You had a quick rejoinder before you took the break. But yes, I think that let's have some order here. Yes. I'll come to Honorable Sankok and then to you, Fred. Okay.
Yes. Conmen are very cunning, and they'll use all sorts of names. You see what Honorable Uda is saying is that you have changed the kickback to be consultancy fee, and consultancy over tender that is supposed to be given from DOD being now done in the DP's office. Conmen are very cunning. And to put matters very straight, is that Echesa is not and have never been the PA to William Ruto. They have been seen together, and if today we remove photos of Echesa and Raila, there will be so many. If we remove photos of Echesa taking an oath of office as a cabinet secretary, and all those cabinet meeting with my party leader Uhuru, there will be also so many. And then there was that Photoshop that my good friend is talking about. I think he will explain further.
Okay, Fred.
I just wanted to bring something small. I want to read to Honorable Uda and my good friend Sankok the meaning of a PA, so that as they argue, they
argue from a point of no.
Yes.
He argued.
A P on that's paper, but in Kenya, a P is somebody who is
a personal assistant, also referred to as personal aide or personal secretary, is a job title describing a person who assists a specific person with their daily business or personal task. The key word here is daily business or tasks. But now, I think Honorable Uda will explain it better. On the issue of Photoshop, today, I remember when President Barack Obama visited this country, the people on the streets who sell some of their merchandise, they did very nice photos and placed Obama with Raila, Uhuru, Kibaki, I don't know who, on an event that never happened. So Photoshop can happen in a way that you tend even to believe that is the truth. So I'm not disputing anything, but I'm saying Kenyans should be very careful when they are picking some of these photos and posting them online to make comments or to argue this case. Right. And in fact, they should desist, because if there is a CCTV footage that was picked from the DP's office, the investigators will use that. So it is the investigators who can give us the real picture. If there is any picture that happened in Poland, there are ways of getting those photos to give to the public. But I want to say that we cannot rule out people within government using people from outside to do criminals in public offices or to commit crimes in public offices. That is possible. So again, I want to plead with us. Let us leave this to the investigators. Once the investigators do their job, they'll tell the public that this is what happened. And the matter is also before court as we speak. Right. So let's leave it at that point.
Okay, of course. Someone also echoes your sentiments right there. We have at Junior Mato saying, but they sell some of the biggest non-existent images and talk big. Do you know what it would take to actually con an international defense contractor? Echesa wasn't alone on this. We suspect probably someone from government as well was inside on this particular job as well. And it's a story that, of course, is being followed and also being investigated as well. We'll follow it right here. We want us to move on from that particular story to what seems like an issue where we're moving on, Oda. We're moving on, Honorable Oda. Because even as we talk about pending bills that should be paid by both county and national government, there's an issue that's at the fore. And actually, this is an issue that you raised on this particular show about very many suppliers to the prisons department who hadn't been paid for many years. Now comes back, and now it turns out that the PS Correctional Services, Zainab Hassan says that some of these invoices are unverifiable and they won't be paid. Billions of shillings on this particular issue, and you have suppliers who've been supplying for over 5 years. There was a farmer from Kajiado, 400, 500 cows, and now wondering, where do I go from here? What recourse do they have to take? Because they are saying they're going to camp at Interior until something is done. But is that what's needed to move them to get their money back?
Government has had a bad habit of delaying people's payments, but making promises. And then Kenyans keep believing that even if you have not been paid now, eventually the money is going to come. But with what we've been seeing with subsequent, especially after changeover of government, somebody comes and starts querying previous bills. I think Kenyan businessmen need to become a little bit savvy. If government is not paying you in the time when you have agreed, stop supplying. It's not, I really sympathize with that old man. Because 500 cows, that is so much wealth that is locked up in there. And if the CS now says, the PS says, we need to audit them afresh, we consider them to be fake, it's one of two things. Either they're reneging on an agreement that they had, and they're just being, it's just plain dishonest, or there's been a racket of some sort to sort of undersupply and overquote for payment that needs to be looked at. Whichever the case, even when you're selling land, a third purchaser of value, even if there was fraud, the investment is protected because we are not involved in the initial. So if I have come and I have delivered, if somebody went and altered the papers and there's problem with my paperwork, then you ask me how much did they give you. Let me show you, this is what I delivered, this is what and pay me for it. And remain sorting your people out. Because when it comes to, like you've seen with the counties and what we are seeing now with the prisons, some of these people, this is their only source of livelihood. You want people to be auctioned. You want people to get into depression and to suffer. It's one of those things that just needs to be rethought. But over and above that, I would, if I was a businessman doing business with government, I would give myself, I can extend credit for 6 months. After that, if government doesn't pay, just stop supplying, because at the end of the day, you may think, oh, if I don't supply, somebody else will, and they may take my place. But if something like this happens, of 5 years continuous supply with no payment, that is ruining people's lives. It's completely unethical. But if you juxtapose that with what's happening in health, with what's happening in some of the counties, there needs to be an audit of how procurement is done by our government institutions, because clearly there is a problem. We had the NHIF boss also saying, we've paid out so much, and of that 1.something billion was actually fake. There's something wrong. People are delivering services, but what is quoted and what is paid is inflated. There is a disconnect there that needs to be looked at.
Honorable Ouda, you'd spoken about this earlier, I think last year, about this particular prisons issue. Has it gone into the floor of the House? Because these are very many people's livelihood at stake.
Yes. In fact, I'll be appearing before the departmental committee on the same. I asked this question before the floor, it's before the committee. And let us agree that there are some elements, as we were discussing before, there are some elements even in the same department who are supplying non-existent staffs. But let the prison department take a proper audit. Like the people, when I talked about this last year here, I have very, very genuine cases in Kisumu. They brought all their documents. I saw them in my office and actually was looking at them and sympathizing. So I request the prison department or the interior department just to make sure that let nobody go into depression because of others who have sinned and maybe did fake things and all that. They need to pay the correct people. And I believe that not because money has not been there. I think they have been getting money and maybe sometimes paying the wrong people and leaving out the right people. But see, we have men and women in this country who are working so hard and doing genuine tenders and supplying genuine stuff. Kindly, I appeal to them that before it gets too far, this they can do even without us pushing them as parliamentarians. They need to go out there and pay the correct people, because like in Kisumu case, my friend, you could see everything is clear. I mean, I've not done procurement before, but from the papers I could see correct supplies and all that. These women from 2012 to date, my friend Jeff, something needs to be done. And lastly, I must say that hope is not lost. With the kind of restructuring and everything that is now going on in government, I believe soon and very soon that all the correct suppliers will be paid their money. And if it doesn't happen, then I would say that I have it in Parliament, my question has been asked, and I think a report will be presented before the House as now that you have resumed before the floor, because Speaker gave them 2 months, I think, to do the same, and I think they'll be presenting a report before the floor on the same.
Okay. Honorable Sankok, I'll come to you as well, because we're looking at it from a scenario where some of these people feel that their plight is lost in the noise, because right now all that's been spoken about is the upcoming BBI rally and all of these other issues, and they are left out to fend for themselves. Their leaders aren't there.
Jeff, I'm telling you, and I still insist that we should fight corruption head on. And corruption involves the giver and the receiver.
Do you feel that's an instance at the Prisons Department?
To tell you the truth is that Kenyans are suffering out there. People have supplied the government. People have borrowed loans from banks because they've gotten some LPO from government that they are having a very big tender. Some of this money they borrowed from the bank, the interest have even overtaken the profit that they would have gotten from the said tender. Many Kenyans have committed suicide. And my question is, why punish Kenyans because of the wrongdoing of officers in government offices? Let every pending bill be paid. I don't know when did the PS become an investigator. Now she's going to investigate and see, I don't know, using spiritual eyes or which eyes, which one was fake and which one was true. Kenyans, at the end of the day, prisoners from, I think she said from 2012 or something like that to date. So you want to say prisoners in Kenya have never been eating any food. So you want to say they have never eaten any meat. Now that there is a man who is claiming he has supplied 500 cows. You want to say it was nil. There was nothing that was done in the prison. There was no tender that was done in the prison. Let all pending, because it was a presidential directive, let all pending bills be cleared. And then the PS can go to court and say, I suspect some fraud in this one. You know, the problem with us Kenyans is that we keep on going back and forth. Here are people who have supplied, generally. They have been promised that they will be paid. They have all the documentation indicating that they will be paid. Now you want to come and deny them their rightful share of the money and say that I'm still investigating. Meanwhile, while you are investigating, the loan they borrowed, the interest is still going up. Who will pay for that interest?
Right.
It is high time that Kenyans now do business with government, and when they do business with government, they do on cash basis. I'm also a businessman. I have a hotel. I will never accept any government agency to come to my hotel and eat food because I didn't borrow that food. I didn't take on loan.
Right.
You pay, you eat. You don't have money, go and wait until you get money, and then you can come. So let also, I think businessmen in Kenya, we should be doing business with the government when they have cash only. And if they don't have cash, then we agree, and they should be documented. I think my brother here can assist us, another lawyer, so that we can draft some memorandum of understanding of doing business with government. That once I do business with you, if you delay my money, it will also earn some interest as you delay. Okay,
Fred, I'll come to you as well, because another issue that came up was the fact that once they're being told that some of these dealings are questionable, the documents are verifiable. As a business person, you wonder, an LPO is an LPO. How can I tell a fake one from a real one if I got it from the Prisons Department? How do they equip themselves with such knowledge?
Jeff, we have the Public Procurement and Disposal Act. And in that act, it's quite elaborate. First of all, I think it's section 32 that also outlines you should identify a qualified supplier And then there's procurement procedures, what you need to put in place. And when you go to the LSO that they give, there's a commitment to that LSO that funds are available to secure or procure this service. That is given.
Yeah.
The moment you receive it and it's signed by the finance officers, it means there are funds available. And that's why you are required to do that service. So when it comes to payment, then they should pay. But you know, as we go back where we started, in this country, there are people who would want to get that tender through whatever means. So they'll go looking for it, pay for pre-qualification, and then they come and keep supplying in the hope that one day they'll be paid. Then when things get thick, now they come out and say, we have never been paid. Well, they are also going through backdoor to get the service, to get to be pre-qualified. So for me, I think it is very unfortunate that today Kenyans are suffering after giving a service to government and they should be paid. They're not able to be paid, their children are not going to school, they're not able to pay their bills, and their money is lying there. The President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, said that all the pending bills that are clear and their documentation paid. I want to urge the government to revisit this issue so that Kenyans out there who are not able to take their children to school, they're not able to pay their rent, they're not able to buy whatever they want to buy, they should be given special attention so that they don't go camping in the CBD demonstrating and make this government look bad while the president himself has authorized the payment. He has given a directive. So it means somebody sleeping on the job in between here. That person that is sleeping on that job should come out and say, we don't have money, we need money. Or the procurement process of this service was not up to what is required. Let us revisit it. But if there are documentation showing that Kenyans delivered their services to you as a government, pay them.
And let's talk about that on a department.
And if the procurement process was shoddy, let us see a procurement officer in the government being in jail so that we can now investigate that payment before we pay.
Okay.
But if nobody is in jail, no procurement officer is in court, let us pay Kenyans the pending bill.
Let's talk about that as well, because even as you look at that, it's on page 8 of the Daily Nation. CS squeezed over 5 billion shilling illegal tender. This was after 7Cs demanded that they get their 5 billion shillings because they had been given the contract, and then the ministry pulled out of that contract and said it wasn't necessary, and they threatened to go to court. Outgoing CS Health, of course, Cecily Kariuki, was also hard pressed to explain really what happened there. You could see it during that particular hearing. It was hard for her to explain really why they cancelled it, and yet at the end of the day, 5 billion shillings have just left government coffers from there. How do we have people held accountable for this? Because there's somebody who has essentially gotten 5 billion shillings for doing nothing.
And cancelling because sometimes the kickback is more than what actually is the cause of that. And that is basically
that's a discussion that, one of the discussions that is front and center even in this BBI debate is about the health function. Should it be a national government function? Should it remain a county function? Because if it was the county governments that had negotiated for this equipment, they would have negotiated for things that they needed at a price that they could afford. But here, national government took it upon itself to negotiate this deal on behalf of counties, take the equipment on behalf of counties, disperse them to the counties, and then get to a place where they actually deduct money for that equipment at source before it even hits the counties. Then tell the counties they cannot spend X amount of money on more stuff. Yet some of that equipment was not functioning because they did not have the manpower to run it. It's such a catch-22 situation. Right now we've gotten ourselves to a place where we have to discuss the issue of health seriously. Because if it is going to be a devolved function, national government has to get out of it and let the counties function. If it's going to go back to national government, then absolve the counties of the responsibility of organizing the facilities or supervising or equipping the hospitals. Just leave it alone. But that said, let's look at the entire issue holistically. When we are negotiating deals in Kenya, in whose interest are we looking at? What interest are we looking at? This particular deal, we were leasing medical equipment. Where were we leasing and not buying? what we are paying for it was so much that I wager if we had bought the equipment, even with needing to upgrade after every so many years, because that was the argument, after a while it will be obsolete. Even if it will be obsolete after a while, before it is obsolete, it will be ours to use as we wish, as we need. We have to come to a place where even how we negotiate these deals has to make more sense. Then there's also value for money. Are our procurement systems allowing us to buy things more than market value? Are they overpriced? Are we getting to a place where, like now, the government is in a cash crunch? We are looking at where we can save money everywhere and anywhere. Can we afford to renege on some of these things? And if you can learn lessons from what you say is Anglo-leasing, once you put pen to paper with an international firm, those contracts are binding. It's not like in Kenya, you can sign a contract with Joy, and then when you're upset with her, unaruka your contract. Internationally, if you said you're going to take my things, you're going to take them for 7 years, you're going to pay this amount of money for them at this level of, you're going to stick with it, even if you come and say, by the way, I've changed my mind about it. So the ones who negotiate these deals, are they really paying attention to the fine print? The Office of the Attorney General has come out and said, by the way, we're not involved in this deal. How do you sell a multi-billion-dollar shilling deal without involving your legal people? Right. It's irresponsibility. And for this one, suffice it to say, it did not happen during Sicily's tenure. It was the former health minister, Macharia. He should come back and explain to us, and his then PS Muraguri, and tell us, by the way, what went on, how are we in this morass? We are still paying for Cuban doctors. How's that going, by the way? Right. The counties are complaining about how paying for 2 doctors would have paid for 10 local doctors. Can somebody explain that mathematics to us and show us the cost-benefit analysis to Kenyans? Otherwise, national government need to get their hands off our health systems, and let the counties run the show.
Honorable Lord, I'm coming to you because even as we talk about this, the current CS also is also leaving. She's also outgoing. And as this cabinet reshuffles happen, there's a lot that's left up in the air, and it's always pointing fingers that it wasn't during my tenure, it was the previous CS. And we always get lost in this cabinet reshuffle. How do you address this? Because if something did happen under Cecily's watch, she's not there anymore. So I
really would not want to play blame games, because if you want me to play blame games, then I'll go back to our first topic, which I don't want to go back to. Now, let us agree on one thing, that the people in charge of this are the procurement officers. I don't know if the then PS was Peter Muraguri or Peter Tum. I don't know. It was Muraguri. It must have been either one of them or both of them. Now, to me, I don't see any problem. From what you said, I got confused, and I went back to the papers because you said 5 billion had been paid. 5 billion had not been paid as per what I saw yesterday. The tender was just cancelled because a few things were not done correctly. Now, one, it is imperative and important now in this country that when awarding big tenders, due diligence must be conducted. This is to do away with fake contractors. This is to do away with this what you call briefcase contractors. Due diligence just to find out if they are correct, if they have the correct machinery, if they have proper machinery, and they have good funds to do the job. So to me, I really want to go the direction of saying the CS is bad, or rather the former CS is bad, or anything. And I also don't want to go the other direction of the cancellation of the tender was bad. But based on what is going on here, one, at that time there were no funds. Those were their arguments. At that time there were no funds. And we just talked about here, why give somebody a job that you not pay for? You rather even stop it, or rather pull away from it, or put it on hold. It is another jurisdiction to do that. That is one. And two, if then you suspect in between, because as you say, some of these contractors can be very, very smart when doing these documents. Actually, at that point in time, you might even think they are the best. But even as if you detect something, don't you think, Jeff, and this panel, that it's good to stop and think twice and say, this thing doesn't look correct, or just continue with it, lose that 5 billion, then come back on this table and start blaming people. At this time, they have not been paid. We've just stopped the contract, and I don't see the worry. If their papers are good and they can win this tender again, let them allow this tender be retendered and then go back to it. But again, lastly, I also don't agree that our procurement officers should be lousy the way they have been before, and our PSs, and do illegal, or rather not do the perfect things, then in between take us aback and cancel the whole thing. I don't agree with that. So I want to strike a balance and say they had somehow, the CS, either current or former, did the correct thing by cancelling this tender. That is one. But two, it's not an excuse for our government officers not to do the correct things, just to make, to pick the correct contractors, going through the rigorous process of procurement process.
I think I pause on that particular point, because you need to take a look at traffic. Coming back to your point on this as well. I want to know how the roads are looking wherever you are, so you can tweet us at K24 TV as well. If you're on Magadi Road, someone who uses that every single morning, you might take a look at that to see how the roads are looking. We have Shiko on the other side.
Yeah.
Let us know which roads are looking good for people to use as they get to work this morning.
Okay.